Hi, Homeworthy. I'm James.
And I'm Jordan.
And welcome to our home in Charleston, South Carolina. Come in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Jordan Kruse.
And I'm James Hewlett. And welcome to our home in Charleston, South Carolina.
What I love most about Charleston is the access to the water. I go sailing almost every Wednesday. The city itself is a complete gem. It's practically a European city, set here in America. The restaurants are all spectacular, and every home is just so gorgeous and well preserved, and it really is just the most special city.
We feel very spoiled to live here.
So as a realtor, I'm always kind of looking on the horizon for what's next. And the opportunity came to buy this home, which is in a really special neighborhood, and I think one of Charleston's best kept secrets. It's called Riverland Terrace. It's about 10 minutes from downtown, and it's a particularly high neighborhood. So we're about 23 feet above sea level. Yeah. And this might just be one of the most special streets in that neighborhood. We're one back from the water, and its curb appeal is just beyond charming. And so when it came up, I knew we had to go for it. We met.
This is a funny story.
We met in college, but we both grew up here in Charleston, and we met in college at a Christmas party I was hosting at my parents' country place.
Jordan was dressed up like a Santa Claus. It was, and I fell madly in love immediately. No, it was, we kind of orbited each other's social circles throughout college, both having grown up here, and eventually started dating, I'd say sometime in 2011 or 2012, and then got engaged in 2015, married in 2016, and now we have a baby on the way coming next month.
Well, this is the entryway, and we wallpapered it going up into the second floor in a grass cloth, and then we lined everything in a black grosgrain ribbon with little copper nails. So that's kind of a fun little detail. And then going up the stairs, there's a herbarium that we've collected over the years and gotten them framed. So some of them are quite old, I think 1871 and a little earlier. So flanking the entryway, we have the dining room and the living room, which we'll take you into now.
So this is our living room. The real primary design idea when we were approaching this room was about seating, entertaining, gathering, but it also had to do double duty as a place where we could unwind after work, given the fireplace. It's where our television is. So we really wanted to, it's a big room. It's not a tiny room. So the challenge for us really was not only putting seating in here, but arranging it in a way that worked every day, not just when we were entertaining. And we were working with our designer, who really helped us maximize how that would work and really refine the we and make it cohesive. Adding layers really kept us from probably going overboard. And so we spend a lot of time in this room.
Everything we ended up using in this room is just extremely special and sentimental to us. That's a Barbary ram, also called an aoudad, that my father shot, my late father, on one of his last big hunts with my grandfather, and I absolutely love it. We call him Wally because he's on the wall. And then a lot of the art we have, we're so lucky to be friends with some really talented artists, and this is one of our close friends, Hart Hagerty, who did this piece for us, and we wanted kind of airy, abstract, poppy piece, and I think she really delivered in a spectacular way. And we wanted it to have a lot of, height and depth. So another great friend of ours is Ann Rhett, who we talked about doing a interior piece for us, and we kind of wanted it to be a sort of yesteryear, kind of decrepit, grand interior. And she was able to get this shot in Drayton Hall, which is just outside of town, and you can kind of see all of the beautiful preserved millwork, but also a little snippet of outside, and it's just a great way to kind of bring some fun and counterbalance the other pastels that we have in the room.
So one of my favorite pieces in this room, aside from the artwork, is this 19th century settee that we have reupholstered in a Miles Red Schumacher fabric to bring it kind of into now. But the frame and the silhouette is beautiful and really reflective of furniture made in the 1800s. And it's a great piece. Our dog really loves it. But it's something that I think injects that little bit of fun and whimsy, but it's in a very classic silhouette.
So we love collecting coffee table books, but not just because they're great curiosities and easy to decorate with, but we actually do mark them up and use different, you can see all the dog ears that we have in these things, and find different, inspiration or things we want to include in our home design and our projects. And it makes it really easy when we start tackling a new project or redesigning something.
And we draw inspiration not just for interiors, but also entertaining, tablescapes, looking at how people really use their interiors and style them is something that we love to do. And so that's rampant throughout a lot of the books that we collect, is not just nice interiors, but also how people live in them. Friends come over and we've sat down on the floor here, just poured through books, and when they're thinking about, a good friend of ours who just bought a new house and really didn't know what direction she wanted to sort of decorate herself in the space. And it was kind of a fun project to be able to sit around and just talk design. And we really referenced so many of these coffee table books that are all around us.
When we are entertaining, it is really fun that people will set up in each little seating group and, kind of form their own little circle for a minute. And sometimes things get dragged around and the whole room gets changed up, and it's just really fun.
Yeah, this room really can be a bunch of people all in one conversation, or it can be 3 different to 4 different little areas where people are having separate discussions. Yeah, we moved from downtown. We lived in what became not when we bought, but what became as we lived downtown, a neighborhood that was very much Airbnb, and I think we craved
lots of college.
A little bit more of a neighborhood, particularly as we were getting married. We were starting to think about long-term settling down and the appeal of the neighborhood, but also having a house that entertained well and had a lot of the things that we liked about living downtown. Proximity to other friends and neighbors of ours that we see regularly was pretty high on our list there as well. And you'll see as we go through this house, it entertains really well. The space has great flow, both indoor and outdoor, and it works really well for the way that we live. So Jordan and I are both really fortunate that our families live here, not just our friends that we've had from growing up, but both of our families live in town and not very far away from us. So we're constantly entertaining family and friends, and we really wanted a house that lent itself to doing that in the way that we live. And so it's part of why some of the renovation we did was really focused on that, particularly connecting the indoor to the outdoor. But you can go the flow of the house internally, from living to dining to kitchen to bar. It's all connected. People can move really easily throughout, whether there's 5 people in here or 50 people streaming throughout. I mean, we've had close to 100 people indoor and outdoor, and it doesn't feel cramped. And that's something, it gives us a lot of joy to entertain. And so that was something that was really important about this house and how we designed it with respect to our lifestyle and entertaining. Next, let's go check out the dining room. So the first thing I want to point out in here is that this room really was the genesis of the design of the entire house. And it all started with this wallpaper right here. This Miles Red for Schumacher wallpaper. It was really the first design choice we made. And then you'll see throughout the house a lot of colors that are throughout the house are pulled really from this paper. This orange from these dining room chairs all the way to the couch in the other room. We pulled a lot of the greens and cobalt blues out, and you'll see that reflected throughout the house. So when we bought this house, originally the dining room was part of the living room setup, and this was a secondary sitting room, and we specifically changed that around because we knew we would actually utilize a dining room much more often, and we wanted to make it a special space, but one that we used for holidays, but we also used for just dinner parties, or sometimes just Jordan and myself having dinner in here. And so that was really, having a dedicated space to dining that wasn't a part of another room, I think was pretty important to us.
So these columns are kind of fun. We love being crafty and kind of figuring out fun ways to, we always love a deal. And these were actually rotting in an antique store, and we were able to kind of save them. They're from an old plantation up on the Santee, and I got a carpenter to make these tops and bottoms for it, and it just turned out beautifully, and now we couldn't be happier with those kind of flanking the front window. So I love a curiosity, and I also love being able to bring any part of natural history into a home. So I found this old cloche and was able to make this kind of butterfly display, which was a fun and long project.
Yeah, the I don't know what you call it, the curing process, for the butterflies was really interesting to watch. So this is a large, extra large Louis Philippe mirror that I found at an auction in Texas. And it's from, I believe, the early 1800s. And I just love the patina to it. It's not in perfect condition. It's missing some beading detail, but it really brings in from a sense of scale in the room. It really, adds a lot and really also in a way grounds the room. So that's a detail I really love about this room. And it doesn't have to do merely with the fact that I've scoured probably every auction site known to man to find it, but it's just such a beautiful piece, and it harkens back to some of the historic detail that I've talked about earlier, where from the homes that we grew up in.
So this is another local artist, Ann Parker. She's out of Sullivan's and does lots of sort of more modernist women's silhouettes. She very rarely does a masculine one, but we found this one, and it just all kind of worked with the color scheme, and we're big fans of hers, so it was kind of a no-brainer.
So you see these two really more modern art pieces of art, and those really contrast with the more traditional drapes we have here with a pretty, they're dramatic, but it's really from it harkens back to a much more historic type of drape from long ago. And it's a really fun mix right there between those two, also against the wallpaper. So we've had a lot of fun in this room.
I mean, we really do kind of veer a little more maximalism or maximalist in our design choices. We like color, and we really like loud pops or loud surprises. So it was wonderful that one of our good friends is Ellie Poston, who's an extremely talented designer, and she kind of helped hone our design choices into something a little more coherent, and I think the end result turned out beautifully.
So Jordan and I both grew up in historic homes, both in Charleston and Mount Pleasant, and we both, I think, have a reverence for historic interiors. What drew us into this house is the bones are great. It has a lot of the charm of an older home. It's not historic, but we wanted to breathe in a lot of freshness to that, and you'll see through color, through texture, through some more kind of fun silhouettes in the furniture. And as Jordan said, Ellie really helped us create a much more cohesive look through and tied together the space really well in a way that we definitely couldn't have done on our own.
Now let's head to what is everyone's favorite place in the house, the bar.
So this room was originally a mud room, and right here, which is a window, was the entry door. We decided that it would be a much better fit for us in the way we live and entertain if it was a bar. And so one of the first things we did in talking with our architect when we were approaching the renovation was really thinking about how to do that in a way that made sense and flowed with the space. And lo and behold, here's what we dreamed up. And it's a really fun space. It's not huge, it's small, but that's I think the charm of it. People get kind of in here mixing drinks, and it's a really fun space, and we've found a lot of joy in being able to utilize this when we entertain.
So with James being in the whiskey and bourbon industry, invariably everyone comes and raids his little library to try out his wares, as it were.
And you're not seeing a lot of it, I'll just put it that way. So I am, polar opposites almost. I'm bourbon or I'm tequila. Those are my favorite liquors and usually with bourbon, it's either on the rocks or in an old fashioned. Tequila, I really like just tequila soda, splash of lime. Pretty simple. I like to taste the liquor. I don't want to cover it up. I think so much of what I do is around the art and the craft of whiskey making, and I think that's the way I approach a spirit when I drink, is wanting to taste it.
And I love a Negroni. It's a little sunshine in a glass, and that's usually
they are delicious.
Standard go-to. So the inspiration for the design here really came from kind of a gentleman's library. The whole house, we wanted to have an undertone of masculinity, and I think the dark green Dutch door, fine paints of Europe, really kind of gives it that kind of dark, spooky feeling, as well as the wood countertop.
And the warm tones from the sconces and the hardware we chose in here too really harken back to that idea of smoking library over in London in the 1800s. So as you can see, we've got a nice collection of different barware and drinkware for different occasions. I sort of have collected them over the years, and that's been a really fun thing. We've got everything from kind of the more retro Porto to some Waterford, some Sterling, some Baccarat, and really kind of whatever occasion is called for. I feel like we sort of have it in there.
And now let's head into the bedroom. So this is the primary, and we really wanted to continue that kind of masculine, moody, high drama feel that we have in the rest of the house here. And we did that by incorporating this Faro and Ball Dix Blue for the color. It's painted in high gloss and then matte on the walls. And then we brought this really oversized antique chandelier from a porch in downtown Charleston. It is way too big for the space, but something about it just works, and we absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. And it definitely ups the drama in the room.
Because this room kind of has a lot of angles, in addition to painting out the entire room, we also really wanted to incorporate and formalize the bed space, and we did that through this bed hanging, as well as, you know, kind of fitting it up against the sloped ceiling and adding to just not a headboard, but also taking it all the way up. It's a nice kind of trick of the eye that really defines the bed space.
Deletes those awkward angles.
Exactly.
And pumps up the formality. So we were able to kind of increase the space that we had by using desks for both of our side tables and nightstands. And that keeps that masculinity kind of flowing throughout the room. We also had these spoon chairs shipped over from England and ebonized and then reupholstered, which ended up looking really, really cool. And then we kind of capped it all off with this Luke Edward Hall print that he did. And then another old Charleston photograph we happen to have. So as I mentioned earlier, we really enjoy bringing kind of natural history or animal prints into the home. I actually brought this back from a safari. I went on in Africa with my family, and then, playing that off of the famous Scalamandre Le Tigre print. I think it's another great way to keep bringing in that natural history into the house. So this is really where we go to get our cookbooks. It's kind of our cookbook library, as you can see. It's got the Julia Child and everything. Here, we got this at an auction in Palm Beach. It's an old kind of 1960s retro faux bamboo sort of looking thing. And it's just kind of filled with fun mementos, like this ashtray from the Ritz in Paris and some old wedding photos and some costume hats from various parties left over. Now let's head up to the office. So this is our office. We wallpapered it in a vinyl to bow grass cloth. It was really fun, and we kept everything really blue and calm, kind of cueing off of that cobalt that we had downstairs. It also serves as our library and kind of, curio cabinet where a lot of things go. A lot of those other coffee table books end up. And then this desk is really special to me. It used to be my father's, but he bought and renovated an old jail in downtown Charleston and had a few of these pieces of furniture made. So this is actually the bars from the old jail that is downtown that was built in the 1750s. So it's just kind of a fun, wacky, kind of brutalist piece to have in here. And it has a lot of sentimentality to me as well.
So this space is not only an office, but it's also kind of like our study. There are really only two places in the house to watch TV. That's downstairs and then also up here. This is sort of the secondary retreat. We do not have TVs in bedrooms. We're just not those type of people who enjoy watching TV in bed, and it's not really something that our life is built around in the way that we live. But so this is kind of does auxiliary duty if the two of us can't agree on what we want to watch. But also, if there's a place to get away and look at books or not just about television or the computer, but also quiet thought and reflection.
So these are both old pennants from early Charleston tourist souvenirs, and they're just really fun. They kind of highlight life as it was back then with just the single bridge and the battery and all the sights and things. And it's just a great vintage kind of feel to have up on the wall here. So this is also our library, and while a lot of coffee table books and sort of design reference books end up here, a lot of Charleston history books also do, or just old Charleston architecture books, which has been really fun for us to collect over the years.
Before we head into our guest bedroom, I'm going to give you a peek inside our party closet, which is kind of where we keep most of our entertaining wear that's not in the bar. Platters, dishes, anything that we really need for a tablescape is usually in here. Now let's head into the guest bedroom.
So for our guest bedroom, the one thing we really wanted to incorporate was this oriental rug that's a family heirloom. And those can be difficult, especially when they have a lot of severe red in them. So we ended up having to pull the red out and try to tone it down in the room at large. And we were able to do that by doing some pops of red and then mostly going blue. But the red lacquered lampshades ended up being great bookends to the bed, as well as the vintage Chinese wood cuttings that are behind it. And then the rest of the room in this nice contrasting kind of blue jean blue and soft blue.
So when we were approaching the design for this space, we really wanted to consider how our guests would feel, because this room really does get used fairly often. I mean, the running joke is that, no one ever ends up like, you don't use your guest suite as nearly much as you think you would, but we actually do have a fair amount. My brother lives somewhere else, and he and his girlfriend will stay here often when family comes into town on either side. So we really thought about how our guests would feel in this space, and so not only leaning into the family heirlooms we had, but pulling calming colors out of that, and it was really the blue. And so the idea here is that there's an ensuite bathroom. It's really a place for our guests to unwind and feel comfortable and cozy, but we also added some pops of kind of drama with the lampshades, etc.
And now let's head to the backyard. So what we wanted to create back here was a really easy flowing entertaining space, which is why we have the two French doors in the back. It's great to open both of those for parties. People invariably start kind of churning and going in a circle in the house, and it's just great. When we bought this place, their backyard was a complete blank slate. There was really nothing back here. So we created this large raised porch, ended it with this beautiful fireplace that's a great gathering spot. I mean, we truly live out here for most of the year. And then a big copper-topped dining table that we probably use more than any other dining surface in the house. So when we worked with our architect on the raised terrace back here, we really wanted to create a nice terminus for privacy and just to give it a nice end and focal point. And a fireplace was the natural thing to do. And the way to keep it looking like an old cohesive part of the house was to make it look like it used to be part of the house. So the flue is exceptionally large and goes up to the second story. And anyway, it's just great. We pretty much live out here during the winter, and this is where the majority of the entertaining happens.
So when we were designing this space, one of the things that we took into consideration that's unique to this property is this oak right here that sort of is on the neighbor's property, but comes across and really creates a ceiling, particularly around this part of the backyard. And so that's also why we set up this the entertaining space with the fireplace here. It's a really, quintessentially Charleston space where we've incorporated that element as well. So this home means a lot to both of us. I would say for me, this is the first home that we really designed together. We've done a project after this one, and we're about to embark on another one for our next primary home. But this is the first house we really designed together. We moved to not long after we got married. It'll be the first house we bring our daughter home to. It means a lot. It's really going to hold a special place in our heart, even though we are moving on to another space. We love this house and couldn't be happier with how it turned out and prouder of it.
Thank you, Homeworthy, for coming and touring our home. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.